Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Stormberg, and today I want to talk about washing and storing fresh herbs. We know that fresh herbs can make our dish zing. It can give it some flavor. It can add a boost at the end. But adding a bunch of fresh herbs can also give us some nutritional value. A little bit of herbs can go a long way in terms of giving us antioxidants, antimicrobial properties. Parsley can be a natural diuretic. Cilantro pulls out heavy metals from the body. Mint can soothe your stomach. So just by putting a little bit of those herbs in our dishes, we can achieve both the flavor and our health benefits from that. But the biggest thing is people will get the herbs and then they forget about them and they get all slimy in the refrigerator and they don't use them. So the key is we need to, especially when we're buying them from the grocery store, we need to deal with them as soon as we get them home. So we're going to talk a little bit about what to do when you buy a bunch of herbs from the grocery store. Of course, it's great when we have them outside our door and we can just go snip them and use them right away in our dishes. But when we get them from the store or even the farmer's market, we're going to have to keep them for usually 5 to 7 days. So the first thing, let's come down here. The first thing we're going to talk about is when you get them at the grocery store especially, they're usually under water and the water is like spraying on them, and so they're really wet. So you want to make sure that you shake off as much water as possible before you put them in your bag to bring them home. Better yet, try to buy them from a place that stores them more upright or away from those sprays. Then the next thing is most of the herbs will come tightly wound with either a tie or a rubber band. The ties usually aren't quite as bad. The rubber bands can get really tight. But around there, especially if they're tight, they will start showing signs of bruising on the herbs, and this is where you're going to get a lot of moisture and you'll start getting some decay, and then that will make the whole batch go bad. So if you're the minimum thing when you get it home from the grocery store, you need to take it out of the bag. You need to undo whatever that tie or the rubber band, and then if there's any like loose leaves here or ones that are looking bad, kind of pick those out. Then take a piece of paper towel and just get that a little bit damp, just so there's a little bit of moisture there. And then you want to wrap the bottom stems in that paper towel. Okay, so you have it like this, and then you can loosely put that back into your bag. If this one's not too wet, you can do that, or you can put it in another bag that's nice and clean and dry, and then you can put that, and don't seal it totally, don't get all the air out of that, just kind of like fold it down, and you can put this in the refrigerator for a day or two until you can deal with washing it. The other thing you can do, especially with hardy stemmed herbs like a parsley, is you could take it out of that rubber band. You can put it in a mug and make sure it's kind of tall enough to hold it, and then put some water in here and just keep this on your counter as like like flowers would be for a day or so. This doesn't always work, because if these herbs were harvested a long time ago, they're not going to allow any moisture to come up. So sometimes, like we do for when we get cut flowers, we want to, if you're going to do that, just cut off the bottom so you expose a new part of the stem, and then put them in your glass and put the water in, and that should let them absorb more water. But ideally, what you want to do is you want to deal with the herbs all the way when you get them home, because until they're clean and in a form that you're going to use them, you won't use them. And even though you think you're going to wash this a few days later, this still will go bad. So the first thing that you're going to do is normally you would take your sink. You can't see in my sink, so take your sink, fill it full of nice clean water, and then this is cilantro here. So cilantro is notorious for being very sandy and very dirty. So you want to then take the bunch of herbs, put it in your sink, all right? You don't want to just spray the water on top and rinse it like this. One, that spray can bruise the herbs because it's sometimes too hard. And two, there's a lot of dirt that gets caught like in the crevices of the leaves, and just by spraying it, you're just kind of like moving that around. So the best thing to do is get that big sink of water, and then just take your hands and move it around and make sure you squish it all up. You get them all nice and clean and washed. This will clean off nearly all the surface dirt and bacteria. If you are concerned or you have maybe a compromised immune system and you want things to be a little cleaner, just take about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, natural apple cider vinegar, and mix it to the water, and then rinse your produce in there. That vinegar will help kill even more bacteria and more germs. You don't have to buy those special produce, washes. All right, so then after you get that all nice and clean, this will also add a little bit of moisture. So if your herbs are like really limp when you put them in, leave them in the water a little bit longer, and they're going to absorb a little bit of that water, and then when we put them in the refrigerator, they'll get nice and crisp and get rejuvenated. So even if they're really limp, you can usually bring them back to life. All right, so you can see, maybe you can see, there's quite a bit of dirt in there. If there was like a layer of sand at the bottom, I would pour that, drain the sink, put a new sink of water, and do it again. So the water will be a little bit dirty, but if there's a lot of soot, you need to do it again. This was an organic cilantro, which tends to be a little bit cleaner than the normal cilantro. So one time usually does it. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put it into a salad spinner. Okay, so you put it into your salad spinner, and you're going to just spin that dry. Now this one unfortunately needs to go into the sink. I don't have my standalone one here, so I'm just going to spin this dry. All right, so now we're nice and dry, and don't over stuff the salad spinner. Like, this is probably the maximum for this. A lot of times you want to do it in 2 batches, because that way it'll spin all that water out. There's still just a tad bit of moisture, and you want that. So then you're going to have some kind of container that you're going to put your herbs in. So I have this, this is a Tupperware type container. You can use a glass container. Sometimes I like to have a rectangle one, whatever's gonna be convenient in your refrigerator and fit in there. And you can put different herbs in the same container and just stack those up. You can also, if you don't have room for a container, you can now take these freshly washed herbs and put a couple, put a couple paper towels, all right? And then we can put those into a zip top bag like this, all right? Kind of stack them in that bag. And try to keep them, away from other stuff, like on the top of something, so they don't get bruised. If you put something on top of here, it's going to get bruised. But just keep a little bit of air in there, and then those paper towels will give you a little bit of moisture. But putting them in some type of container does give you a little longer life. Usually I can get at least a week out of my herbs when I do it this way. So what you want to do is you want to put maybe about half that, put a piece of paper towel on the bottom. Then you put about half a batch of the cilantro in there. Then you'll take your other paper towel and you'll put that on top. Then we'll put the rest of that dried spun cilantro in there. And then on the top, you want to put another paper towel. And then you'll put your lid on, and then you'll put this in the refrigerator. So what you're doing is you're stacking paper towel, herb, paper towel, and end with the paper towel. And that paper towel will get enough moisture to keep them nice and fresh. Now when you're done with this, these paper towels are usually fine. I'll just take the paper towels out and use them again for the same application. So once I, am done with this herb and I'm trying to put another herb in there, I will just use those same paper towels, and they'll be a little bit damp, and they'll work fine. If they get, overly stained, or, some of your herbs got a little bit slimy, then you'll want to throw that away. And then you have that, and like I said, you can stack different types of herbs on here. That's why I kind of like the rectangle ones, because you kind of put them side by side and know what is in there. So doing this, like I said, about 5 to 7 days in your refrigerator. And now they're all nice and washed and they're fresh, and you're going to be much more apt to just grab some and put it into your dish. So I hope you will start incorporating more fresh herbs into your food, and take that extra couple minutes when you get back from the grocery store and clean them up, and they'll be all ready to go. The same method works for like a leaf lettuce or spinach or kale also. So getting those washed and spun and in your refrigerator all ready to go is the secret to using them. So until next time, this is Mrs. Dornberg.